Okay, let's go here to Dave. And he goes, NFL is a bad product. More commercials than action. Maybe that's why the ratings are down. They need to speed up the game. Seems like a 60-minute game should be finished in 2 hours.
But the TV ratings are not down to the point it's catastrophic. Have they dropped a little bit this year? Yes, they have. It's kind of odd, but there's some bad football out there too. Has the landscape changed? Yeah. But you can't sit there and tell me the Detroit Lions were not entertaining to watch and to see what Dan Campbell has done. You can't tell me that Mahomes and Andy Reid and going for the third straight Super Bowl is not fascinating. You can't tell me the Eagles are not great or Buffalo has arrived. I mean, there always will be good teams and good storylines. So I'm a little bit surprised why those numbers have dropped. In terms of officiating, they got a problem because the game is bigger, faster, much more physical. They need to continue to work to expand use of instant replay challenges on questionable calls, face mask hits, obviously possessions. I don't know whether we put microchips in footballs that help you actually locate where the ball is on the yard line, the Josh Allen quarterback sneaks and all that. I don't think there's anything wrong with the product. The game has to be made safer, and you got technology, which means you want more of the right decisions to make. I think it's a very hard game for these guys to officiate. John?
It's funny that people wanting to manipulate the game the way they've done in baseball to try to speed it up or change the rules or something. I remember one time, a long time ago, Jim Rome said that the NFL is the perfect sport for television. The way they have a play and then they take a break to call the next play, which gives the announcers the ability to, make comments and do analysis. And then there are lots of timeouts and breaks for commercials. It's like the perfect television sport. And I buy in on that. But it used to be that a 1 hour, 60-minute game would last maybe 2.5 to 3 hours on television. Now it's lasting 3.5, maybe 4 hours on television. And so I think this is a legitimate point. Now, for me as a fan, sometimes I find myself watching the game. Part of it is because of the game. And sometimes the game is a little bit of a drag. But I sometimes mostly watch it because it's part of American culture,
yes.
And the nation is watching it. And there's more going on here rather than just some guys throwing around a leather pigskin.
They got technology, make the game better. I do think as we get to June, July, and the owners' meetings, the competition committee, we're going to be talking. They're going to invoke some more changes in the rules to help the referees out because the game is unbelievably fast. And there's a lot more stuff there that has to be called correctly, and you can't keep up with it. So therefore, instant replay will help you. They'll find a way to invoke additional challenges to make sure we get the call right. That, to me, is the most important thing.
Yeah, well, they do need to get the call right. But, to your point about how fast the league is, when we're watching from our couch and we watch these dudes on the field, they look fast, but you're like, they're all kind of fast, right? Then every once in a while, there'll be a player that's really fast, like Worthy for the Chiefs or some of these guys. And you're like, holy crap. And some of these young kids that are returning kickoffs and punts, and they hit that second or third gear. It's like incredible how fast these guys are. So it's a great game. And to me, I see it. It's a lot like the gladiator games back, in the Roman Empire. It has that flavor to it. But it's a great part of America.
Well, Dave, I'm going to disagree. It's not a bad product. It's a very fast product that they got to polish and help the officials with. Let's move on.
Okay. I suspect this is from Manny, who might be a Dodger fan. He goes, Lee, I just got one question. How many days till catchers and pitchers report to spring training?
Yeah, February 15th for the most clubs. Can't come fast enough. It's going to be great. We on our podcast on Monday, we did a breakdown of all the Dodger pitchers, the Dodger blueprint. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. The Dodgers have 23 pitchers who've won games in the major leagues, and a lot of them with the Dodgers. Now, they can't keep them all. Some guys have got options left. Some guys might be used as trade bait, but this Dodger pitching staff roster, this, to me, is just unbelievable. And the flip side of that is we're based in San Diego, so we're dealing with a Padres situation in which they've been paralyzed by the passing of Peter Seidler, paralyzed by the impact of decisions as it relates to the roster, paralyzed by A.J. Preller's contracts that he's given out that he can't trade. So we're not done yet. I'm trying to be patient. I'm giving Preller more space to do magic because he's done magic in the past. But my big private concern is if you trade Arise or if you trade Cease to get out from underneath the contract, you're creating another hole on your roster And even if you're getting young guys who are controllable, are they going to be equal to what you just let go? Because last I checked, Arise won the National League batting title, and Cease pitched your ass into postseason with so many quality starts over the course of the campaign. Am I right or am I right?
It seems like AJ is backed into a corner here.
Yes.
Unless he does something radical. I mean, can you see him ever trying to trade Tatis? I mean, I know he has a no trade, but it almost seems like he has to do something radical to sort of right size and normalize the roster and the payroll.
That's a kind way of saying he's got to do something radical for all the other mistakes he's made, because I think that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, well, that's true to a degree. I agree as well. And by the way, where Manny, I like this comment about pitchers and catchers reporting. I just remember one time I was in Chicago, freezing my ass off. And it was in the middle of the winter, and they were all saying, "Hey, man, pitchers and catchers report in a few weeks." And it was just like this feel good time that spring is coming, and the good times are coming back. And I can already feel Manny's vibe. Right?
Can you imagine living in Chicago where the winter off Lake Michigan's pretty vicious and thinking about the Cubs, Mesa, Arizona, Hohokam Park? Once upon a time, the Cubs trained in Palm Springs. Once upon a time, way back in the day, they trained on Catalina Island. Can you imagine living in the 312 area code where it's always cold and always snowing and thinking about, the Cactus League?
Yeah, and I've been to Catalina, where to this museum, and they had pictures, because I guess it was the Wrigley family.
Yes, 1940s that owned a hotel there.
Yeah, exactly. So you see these old time ball players there, and I'm thinking, wow, that'd be a hell of a a road trip to go play a ball game in Catalina.
Especially if you lived in Chicago in December, January, and February.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, no more history lessons. Next one. Thanks, David.
Okay, let's go to Emmanuel. He goes, how important are TV ratings to sports leagues? The NBA is losing viewers, but signing big dollar TV contracts.
After a while, though, it catches up to you. I mean, if your TV ratings continue to slide, you're going to have a problem when the next, quote, TV contract comes up. And that's why the NBA's got a problem, because the quality of the game is different. The quality of the game has slipped. That's why the NBA is seriously looking about changing the three-point line. And I mean, they've tried a whole bunch of wild things as it relates to the All-Star game. I'm sorry, I'm not watching any of this All-Star game stuff with this 4-team tournament. I'm sorry, I don't buy into the NBA Cup in November and December. Now, if you want to give me an All-Star game that has North America versus the world with all the money, bonus money, $1 billion bonus money that's going to go to charity, to feed hungry Americans, I'll watch that, because that's got value. But don't give me this 4-team tournament. Everybody plays to 40 points and then bogus. But the league's got I think the NBA's got a real significant problem. NFL ratings continue to be up here. Baseball's ratings have gone up. NHL, huge jumps thanks to cable channels and everybody getting much better TV deals. But NBA, I think, has got a big problem.
I was reading today on your best 15 that Caitlin Clark is backing out of the 3-point contest in the NBA All-Star game, which I thought, well, what a great idea that is, to have men and women in that competing against each other. That would have been a TV hit for sure.
I concur, but she's backed out because now her idea is, why should I go there? Why don't they come here?
Oh, God.
WNBA TV ratings have gone up and up, thanks to Caitlin Clark and all the other great young talents there. But now she's proposed, during our All-Star game, let's bring some of the NBA players into our All-Star game, and we'll have the 3-point contest at the WNBA Midwinter Classic, not the NBA Classic.
Oh, come on. I mean, be realistic.
I'm just telling you what she said.
Yeah, the WNBA has a lot to respect. They're rising up, but they're still a little sister to the big-time NBA boys.
Okay, let's move on here. We got a ton of people stacked up with opinions. John?
Okay, we're going to talk here a little Aztecs with the Osiders. He says, freshman Danny O'Neal transferred after we invested in him, which is sad. I'm afraid Guath will do the same. In the future, do you see NCAA allowing programs to make players commit to multi-year deals?
Every time the NCAA makes a decision, they get sued and they lose in court. This is a terrible thing to say. I thought about this the other night as Guath was putting up big points and carrying them to this win over San Jose State. This is mean of me to say, but I hope Aztec fans enjoy this, because somebody from the Atlantic Coast Conference can offer this kid $1 million to go in the transfer portal He's not going to stay at San Diego State, I don't think, unless there's unique loyalty towards Dutcher for the investment. It's where college athletics is right now, and I think it's sad. Are they going to get it under control? I think they are within a year's time. I think there's going to be changes in the NIL. I think there's going to be changes in the transfer portal. They need a legitimate commissioner. They need a legitimate football person. Everybody says Nick Saban to run the football side of the equation. So there will be more changes. But right now the thing is utter chaos, and it's really sad. And I'm pissed that Danny O'Neill bailed on Sean Lewis, because he invested everything to help that kid fast track. And a day after Danny O'Neill signed at Wisconsin went back out and got a starting quarterback from another school to come in. And Danny O'Neill's going to be a backup if he plays at all. He was a starter here, could have been the cornerstone here to build the thing. So I'm disappointed.
You can't blame a kid for going for a better opportunity.
Okay.
I mean, that's like you blaming Jim Rome when he left 690 for, doing something different. So
he took the show that I turned down.
Yeah,
they offered it to me.
You should have taken it.
No, I couldn't have taken it because I didn't want to wreck everything I had here in San Diego.
You would have been Hacksaw nationwide. It would have been awesome, But I'll tell you what, Magoon is not just a fantastic player with a lot of potential, but he's a good kid. Yeah. That press conference that he did with Miles Byrd, they kind of were real, and they were acting like 19, 20-year-old kids, and it was fun listening to him. And Magoon Guath has just got that big round baby face, but man, is he good on the court, and he can do it all.
He's getting better and better, but that's by virtue of, thank you, Brian Dutcher. I fear that we're going to wake up and he's going to be gone, because that's what's happening.
Well, Miles Byrd, I think, has already signed an agent, so he might be going to the NBA. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the whole landscape is changing. But it just seems that back in the day, the idea of transferring out to another school was just so rare, barely ever happened. But scholarships are one-year deals. So if they flip this and make scholarships to a commit to a 2, 3, 4-year package deal, then the players will stick around.
Or NIL packages is what you're talking about, not just the scholarships.
Well, yeah.
So we'll see. This thing, I bet a year from today, when we're doing this podcast, we're going to be talking about probable changes in how the NIL transfer portal operates, but not right now, unfortunately. Okay, next one.
Okay, let's go here to Flegel, talk some baseball. It says Trevor Bauer is a toxic waste. Max Scherzer is a 40-year-old and injury prone.
The only issue is I still think toxic waste can pitch. He's 89 and 64 as a starter. Guy went 20-2 in Japan and Mexico. I still think as your third or fourth starter, you get him an affordable price because he wants to pitch in the major leagues to rebuild his career and his reputation. You get him for a 1-year rental and see if it works out. Scherzer's got a lot of miles on him. I concur with you there, but he just had a showcase and the Padres were not there. He's probably going to sign a 1-year contract with somebody, but it's probably decent value. Maybe it's $5 million with incentives. You mean to tell me the Padres can't afford $5 million to get Trevor Bauer in here, get Scherzer in here in a 1-year rental that would make a difference, be an insurance policy? That's the thing. They could have gotten him without having to give up Cease or et cetera. They're going to have to move somebody, obviously, because the payroll is too high. But that's where we are right now. But Bauer's gone to the Bay Stars in Japan. Scherzer's held a tryout already in Arizona. I'm sure he's going to sign somewhere, and we'll just see if he can be what he used to be at age 40. But you don't know till you try. And as I said, we're sitting here with a roster that's got problems right now. Padre, you can't sit there and tell me that the Padres right now are on the same level as what the Dodgers are. And now you got what the Diamondbacks have done, and we got the Giants have done, and all the Padres have done is sign 17 minor league free agents. Hardly any of them have ever been in the major leagues. I think it's a problem. I do. I'm giving Preller space. AJ needs to work some magic on the next transaction. I do think there's going to have to be a transaction at least.
What if it's funny? You say toxic waste can still pitch, but it's not just a Padre thing. He's willing to play anywhere, and he's willing to play for the minimum. And I see him on Twitter saying these things all the time. Like, I'm willing to come, what's the deal? And I'm thinking, well, the reason no one wants to sign him is because he's been blacklisted, because he's a cancer. He's going to cause problems. And I think the situation in San Diego is even extra unique because the woman that accused him, I think, have some ties with the Padres.
She used to work for them.
Yeah. So there's more to it that we're, behind the curtain.
Was he ever charged? No.
No.
Was the lawsuit ever go forward? No, it was thrown out of court.
Yeah, he got screwed, but he's not.
But he put himself in a bad situation with bad decisions.
Yeah, and then he keeps, stirring the pot and making it worse for himself. So, here we go.
That's where we are. Thank you for the input, Flegel.
Okay, let's go here to Chris. He goes, "Oh, Canada hotline here from the beautiful province of Pasadena, California. Saw the Kings cannot score goals. Another hot start and then hitting the skids. Please tell me Rob Blake has a couple of deals in the works for some guys that can tickle the twine more than once a month."
Well, I think the only thing, Chris, is that their payroll is really high. And they got a bunch of $8 million guys that other clubs are not going to take on a trade. I'm disappointed. I thought Kevin Fiala would be a lot more of a goal scorer for the Kings, and he's been very erratic. That's $8 million. If he can't score in LA with Kopitar and Kempe and all the people around him, what makes you think he's going to score goals if you trade him somewhere? And by the way, he's going to eat up $8 million of your salary cap. That's an issue. Just got Drew Doughty back last night, played his first game coming off the dislocated or the fractured ankle that he had in preseason. So let's just give them a little bit more space. But there's not, in all honesty, I just don't think there's a lot of budgetary space for the Kings to be able to make any type of transaction. Trade deadline doesn't come up till March, so they still have some space here. But you're right. They're not scoring goals right now. They have won only, I think, 2 of their last 9 games. So Kings got to do a little evaluation. Is it restructuring of who plays with who on the lines? I don't know. I don't have an answer right now, but there's not a lot I don't think they can do from a player acquisition standpoint. I think whatever solution happens has to come from within. But they scored goals and they won early, so that means it's still there.
Chris is a longtime follower of the podcast, and you could tell he was a fan of your program back in the day.
Because he's got good taste. He's a hockey fan. I talk hockey. I'm the only one that talked hockey.
But he's always channeling the Hacksaw shtick in his fans forum comments. I think this is, he's from Pasadena. I mean, that's up the road, but I'll bet you we need to do the get together and the meet and greet with you, because I bet you Chris will come down from Pasadena. It doesn't matter where we set it up.
We'll figure it out. We've been trying to figure it out, but some of us, him and me, have a lot of things on our plate on a day-by-day basis. Trust me, there's a lot of stuff going on in our lives that complicate what we're doing, aside from just showing up and dazzling you on Mondays and Thursdays. Thank you, Canada, for joining us. Next one.
Okay, let's go to John. He goes, "Shaking my head over the Padres, their ownership and tradition. Be competitive for 2 to 3 seasons and then suck for 10 to 15 years. Competitive for 2 to 3 years again and repeat. Wonder if they'll draw 3 million next season."
Well, they will, because they've sold out season tickets. But if this is not quality product, if they can't be pennant contender, I think that you're going to see an erosion in season ticket support. And, Eric Grupner can put out all the press releases, get on the waiting list and all that. This is going to go away if, by virtue of this front office fiasco, that the ownership starts to cut payroll significantly, because they have to be able to keep quality players. And they have to continue to sign guys for the farm system, and their farm system is negligible. Here, I'll give you a prime example. I thought about this last night. 40-man off-season rosters. You protect all your top young players, plus your stars.
Mm-hmm.
The Padres have only 35 guys on their 40-man off-season roster. They're the only team in baseball that does not have a full 40-team roster, because they have nobody that needs to be protected, because they have nothing in AA and AAA that is star-studded, has to be protected yet. Your young guys are not eligible for the 40-man roster. Mm-hmm. Your kids at A or rookie league or AA. But they're the only team I know in baseball, I've never seen this before, does not have a full 40-man roster at this point of the season.
Well, that sounds like an alarm bell, right? But really, if you've got guys at AA, AAA that are old enough that have to be protected, then there's sort of 4A guys in the first place, right? They're not going to be, your stars, because the stars are going to come up immediately. They're going to be on the major league roster, before they need to be protected.
You got a roster with problems.
Yeah.
You don't have anybody ready, and you don't have 40 guys in your organization of the 200 you have signed that need to be protected yet.
Well, that's what Preller's doing. Is he's kind of gotten rid of a lot of those mid-tier guys. He's got the big-time stars with the big money, and he's got the Ethan Salases and the Leonardo DeVries of the world
who don't have to be protected yet.
Yeah, exactly.
But he doesn't have enough numbers.
No, he does. No, he's got to. He's got to get numbers. But I think Preller has been paralyzed because of what's going on upstairs.
John, thank you for the input. John is one of the few guys I know that stays up all night. He and I exchange emails at all hours of the night, talking about quote topics on the table. Next one.
Okay, let's talk some more Padres here, and this is with Raul. He goes, fans forum here. Go, Lee and John, if you were in the Padres clubhouse and had a hand in the day-to-day operations, how would you go about the civil war in the Padres clubhouse? Hi, all.
It's a very intriguing question, and I'll guarantee you that Preller has been impacted by everything that's happening up top, especially the freeze on the payroll, and just the reality that he's made so many transactions and he's given out so many extended contracts with big dollar values, he can't trade them, and that's a problem. And now his hand is being forced. This may sound unfair. This may sound like a cheap shot, but he's being forced to trade an ace pitcher to make up for all the other mistakes he's made. And the minute you remove Cease from your rotation, I don't think you're getting equal value back in return. You know, he traded an MVP in Soto, and he did get Michael King. And he got a young blue chipper that became Dylan Cease on a short-term rental. But I'll guarantee you, if you have to trade a Rise right now in the final year of the contract or Cease, he's not trading from a strength position, and you're getting back in equal to what you're giving up. I think you create another hole on your roster, and the roster still got holes on it. So at the end of the day, his methodology, I think, has come back to haunt him, as John Riley just said. That's AJ painted into a bad corner over there in that room, and he's trying to find a way to get better players here, but his hand's being forced because of what's happened up top.
I remember when the new ownership came, and this is before Seiler. This is when Fowler was the number one guy. And they said, we want to build an organization. We're going to get a president first, then a GM, then a field manager. And they went about it the right way. AJ Preller said he was going to build from the farm, have a lot of assets, stock it up. I was like, okay, they're finally doing it the right way. But it just seemed that Peter Seiler, the minute he got involved, would love him to death. I mean, but he basically blew up that model, because we want something now. We want immediate return. We want the shiny object. We want to contend today, sadly, before he passes away. It's kind of blown up that whole model.
Well, they blew it up to a degree, but they put quality on the field. But then Preller traded the farm system away 3 times. 3 times. He's used all the money they paid, and they overpaid on a lot of those draft picks, and traded those guys. Now, your response could be, well, they got quality in return. We got Tatis for James Shields, but they had to pay a hell of a price to get rid of Shields' contract. And they're still paying on Eric Hosmer's contract, which has turned out to be a fiasco. And if you look at the trades, the Trey Turner deal, for them to hit the eject button on a whole bunch of these guys, it's just, they had the big stars. They had a farm system. He kept trading. He's addicted to making trades. And now, because a whole pile of them haven't worked out and he's stripped the farm system again, that's him over in the corner of that room who's now got to make a deal to pair the payroll, and he's not going to get equal value for Dylan Cease or Luis Ariz. At least I don't think so.
No. When they know that you have to deal them, you're going to get lowballed in all the offers. So Preller's in a bad spot, but
he created it.
Well, yeah, he partly created. I think a lot of it was that the ownership was also pushing him to sign all these guys, which then it definitely put him back them into a corner. I don't know. To me, if you're a general manager, if you can hit on 50% of your trades, that's good. Usually trades rarely work out. Usually guys are duds, or they just, it doesn't make sense.
You'd like to think win-win for both sides.
Ideally.
He got value out of Soto. He's got 1 pitcher out of Soto. Second pitcher's in Chicago with an arm problem that brought him Cease, but now he's got to trade Cease.
Yeah, and then Higashioka is gone. Vasquez shows us a little bit sometimes. Yeah, Preller's in a bad spot.
He created it, sadly. But give him space. Let's see if he can work some magic and find somebody unique that might take on one of these guys and be willing to give you something of significance. Okay, move on.
Okay, let's go here to our good buddy David. And he says, he gave us $5. Thanks, David. Dodger Fan Fest, Saturday, February 1st, 10 to 3. We welcome Delusion Padre fans.
Boy, I tell you what, it's really interesting. They had Fan Fest last weekend, David, and we talked about this. They had some really bad incidents in Pittsburgh and Chicago and Boston, etc. And to the point now that the question is, well, FanFest would be fun, but if you can put your general manager or team president there on the top of the dugout and they're going to answer questions, you got angry fans. Wow. I think FanFest will be fun for Padre fans this time. But tell you what, everybody's got questions, and the Padres going to be able to answer those questions. And if they don't have a really good season this year because their hands being forced because of Seidler's passing, the civil war with the Seidlers, the budget restraints, what do you think FanFest is going to be like a year from now? I mean, tough set of circumstances in a good baseball city. You brought us to a certain level of expectation. How dare you take that expectation down now by having to make all these transactions? Am I right or am I right?
Yeah, expectations are whacked right now. I mean, remember 2 years ago, FanFest at Petco? It was a zoo, and then they had to reformat it the following year because it was just so crazy. And there's so many fans that were there. See, that's the thing is with sports teams, it's not just a business and we're not just a customer. We have an emotional connection to these franchises.
What do you think FanFest for the Dodgers is going to be like this weekend? Because that's this weekend too.
Oh, well, it's going to be a love fest. It's going to be paradise on earth in Chavez Ravine. They're all going to be happy there because the Dodgers can do no wrong.
All right, David, thank you for the contribution. We'll see where this goes. They're not done yet. We're going to be, I swear to you, between now and opening day, we will be talking about some type of significant player deal. Whether it be good for the Padres or not, we'll talk about it.
You know it. Okay, let's go talk a little NBA with Larry Sports Talk. He says, going to be tough for any Western Conference team to add talent to be able to compete with the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Oklahoma City and Houston, unbelievable athletics. They're just guys who can fly, guys who can shoot, guys who can jump. I'll say this about the Clippers. I watched the Clippers the other night. Oh, I'm going to throw this at you. Okay. So here are the Lakers. Lakers are trying to make a trade to get Washington center, Valanciunas. Trying to make a trade to get Puelti, the big center from Toronto. Talking to Indiana about Miles Turner. He's talking as a fourth team. They're trying to get a center, a rim protector. And the only chips they have might be Rui Hachimura, maybe Gabe Vincent, and their 2 number 1 picks. But the centers they're trying to get are not even equal to Anthony Davis playing in the paint. If they asked Anthony Davis to play out of position and just be in the paint. So everybody's walking around with a gun in their hand. You want my center in Toronto who we really want to get rid of? Give me both your number 1s and a player. How does that help you to get a guy who's not even equal to who's playing center right now? So that's a big issue. And then it dawned on me. Do you know who the Lakers center used to be? That they got and got rid of real early. Last night, he had 21 points and 22 rebounds. Ivica Zubac, Clippers.
Yeah, he's good.
He's evolved into a really good player. Now, he's not a rim protector in terms of going bat and passes down, but he rebounds like hell. He's got offensive skills. They had him, and he's gone. And here are the Lakers now trying to have to give up both their number 1s. They won't have any number 1s till like 2035 if they do this. What a disaster. What a problem. And you got AD and you got LeBron, and you really don't have anything else of significant import on that roster. Maybe you trade Dalton Connect, the number 1 pick, who's sometimes in the lineup, sometimes out of the lineup. I don't know. It's too early to say he's a bust. But why aren't you playing him all the time? Don't you need to polish his 3-point ability and add him to Reeves so at least you got 4 guys who can score? It's just the whole Laker thing is just weird, what they used to be versus what they become.
Well, how could you have an expectation to have another center as good as Anthony Davis? I mean, there are very few people in the league that can match up to be a rim protector like him, right?
But to give up 2 number 1 picks for a middling center out of Toronto or Washington, that's what has to happen.
Yeah. There's no way. I mean, it's not like there's like some magic solution like a Robert Parrish that they could trade for, or a Shaquille O'Neal or something.
Look down the bench. Who the hell do you want off that roster on that Laker bench? Please tell me there's somebody. And if you trade Austin Reeves, what the hell good is that? Now you create another hole. That's just, Lakers got problems. We should apply for jobs at the Lakers because no matter what you do, you never, ever get fired. We should apply for a job with the Lakers.
Yeah, we should.
But how about Zubac? Zubac's become a hell of a player. If you had Zubac, You'd have a lot more offensive firepower, and you'd have some grit and grime to go rebound because you don't have it right now.
Well, they traded away a lot of good players. Like Julius Randle turned into a really good player.
Yeah, but he's one dimension, and he's kind of a crackpot.
Yeah, well, so again, it seems like so many sports franchises are in the same boat, where they've got these high-priced guys, a bunch of mid-tier dudes. They're running out of draft picks, and the only teams that are like conquering the world are the Dodgers and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay, let's move on. Has anybody responded to the Washington, D.C. plane crash situation press conference?
Let's see.
I mean, we've got so many people stacked up here. John tries to pre-proof these before we punch them up. But go ahead.
No one has dipped their toe in that water.
Ooh, wow,
no
that's
pun intended.
Okay.
So let's go here to there was one up here. Oh yeah, from Matthew. Matthew, again, thanks for the donation, Matthew. This season is the Padres' last chance for the core.
Matthew, you hit the nail right on the head. I said they had a 2-year window to do this with Manny, with Xander, I'm not so much with Tatis, with Darvish, with Musgrove. There's an awful lot of age, and these contracts extend out and out. Well, last year they came within one game of getting it done, and they won 24 innings and didn't score a run, and they're out. And now they got roster problems. Now they got payroll issues. Farm system's not ready to deliver anybody at this point. Their window may close a little bit earlier than I thought was possible, unless Preller goes into that grab bag he has under his desk and can execute a magic trade that's going to get him the right guys coming here. When they made this Soto deal, I felt they didn't get the right starting pitcher. The starting pitcher I wanted from the Yankees was Clark Schmidt, who pitched really well till he got hurt. And they scoped out Michael King, and Michael King turned out to be a hell of an acquisition. Now, he did it 1 year. We'll see if he can do it a second year and duplicate 175 innings and the very respectable ERA. So let's put your trust in Preller to see what the next transaction brings him. But he's traded away so many young players, have gone so many other places, and a whole pile of them are in Major League Baseball. Maybe there's a rental coming. Maybe there's a free agent signing. Cal Quantrill is still out there. Now, he had some health issues in Colorado, but affordable contract, maybe. I just don't know where they're going to go get more people, because right now, unless you're telling me the 7 guys headed by Tom Cosgrove and Vasquez and Brito and Waldron, that those guys are going to save them and become integral parts of the rotation, I just don't see it at this point. And again, they have to trade somebody, so maybe they'll get another Michael King in the next transaction, but I don't know.
What happened to the rumor Clark Schmidt for Luis Arraez?
Yankees spent their money other places. Yeah, the Yankees, after Soto went across the bridge and went to the Mets, Yankees, I think, acquired 5 different veteran free agents, highlighted by Goldschmidt. That's a 1-year rental, but it's a 1-year rental with a proven veteran player who his numbers have dipped, but they must still think he can hit. And in a better batting order, maybe they will. It's interesting. The Yankees talked extensively about Arraez, but backed away because it's $14 million, and backed away because it's a one-dimension player who doesn't run the bases very well and doesn't play great defense. So they went for Goldschmidt instead with his legacy and his heritage, with the hope, well, maybe he's got 1 year left in the gas tank. It's a 1-year rental, and he's earning less than Arraez would have made, and they didn't have to give up anything to get him. That's the explanation.
It's funny when you say 14 mil, because nowadays I'm like, oh, that's nothing. 14 mil, they could figure out a way. It's still a ton of money. I mean, really.
For talk show host, yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's keep going here. Let's go to Carlos. He goes, why do you always talk down anything Lakers, Rams, and LA Kings, but try to talk up Clippers, Ducks, and Chargers?
Well, I don't talk up the Ducks. I have a real bitch with what Pat Verbeek has done. Now, they look like they're about to turn the corner with a lot of young players, but they're still not in the playoffs, but they're making progress. The Clippers, this whole success of the Clippers spins off on whether or not Kawhi Leonard can be what Kawhi Leonard was. So far, in the 2 weeks he's been back, his minutes have gone up and up. He's gotten more productive. Just got to see if he can hold up. Chargers, it's more about Justin Herbert and maybe the arrival of Harbaugh. Talk down the Lakers. I mean, if it's Carlos, if it's acceptable to you that you're happy the Lakers, the ones with all the banners, you remember all that era, the Lakers with all that heritage and all those banners or fighting to be the 8th or 9th play-in team. If that's acceptable to you, then your standards are different than my standards, especially when you got two great players. That's an issue. Rams, why don't I talk down the Rams? God, the Rams, Super Bowl ring, Super Bowl twice. Sean McVay, what he accomplished this year, I don't talk him down. Now, they do have issues. Matthew Stafford just announced this morning he's coming back, which is great. Now, they got to solve the contract. They got to give him an extension with more guaranteed money. I don't know what they're going to do with Cooper Kupp. And the Kings, they've fixed this thing. But all of a sudden, they're not playing very well. So, Carlos, I'm not quite sure I can subscribe that I'm talking down all the time. I'm talking about the issues that specific teams have and my evaluation of those issues. And the ones that have been down are trying to get better. But I call it as I see it. If you have a different set of standards, please invite me on your podcast and we'll talk about what you think. Go ahead, John.
Well, you tell it like it is. You have opinions. Sometimes you'll stir the pot just to stir the pot. But you have a connection with the Chargers that goes way back. So you're going to follow them maybe a little more closely than other NFL teams. So I don't know. I just think Carlos is probably just, a butthurt Laker Rams Kings fan. But you've been praising the Rams all year.
Oh, I think McVay is really, really special. Carlos, what did I just say? McVay is really, really special. Thank you for joining us. Hope you call us again. Go ahead, next time.
Okay, let's go here to Cal. And he goes, afternoon, gents. First off, prayers go out to those affected by the plane crash in D.C. Lee, as we near the Four Nations break, if you had to give a letter grade to the Ducks, what grade do you give them?
I give them a C right now. They're force feeding their kids. They're almost to 500, which is a hell of a sight better than they've been in the last 4 or 5 years. Rebuild is really painful. I'm a little bit biased because I'm pissed off at what the Ducks have allowed the San Diego Gulls to become. I mean, that was a flagship team in the American Hockey League that had all these young draft picks here who played well, got them into the AHL playoffs. They were drawing 10, 11,000 fans per game. And now all these years later, the last group of years, they're not winning and they're not drawing. I would have never thought we'd have Gulls games that have 4,100 fans per game when they were drawing 10 and 11,000. Now Verbeek has taken all the draft picks and they're force feeding them up top. This year, for the first time, those kids are starting to come together. It's tough to rebuild. It's tough to play 20, 21, 22-year-olds with virtually no experience at the NHL level night in, night out and not have pain. So I'd give them a C right now. If they can continue, if they can get to be a 500 team, even though I don't think they make the playoffs, if they can get to be close to 500, that's a step in the right direction. And Pat Verbeek still has a fair chunk of salary cap space. Once you get there with the kids and you have a need, maybe you go get a sniper and you overpay somebody and you give them $9 million to come be the cornerstone goal scorer for your Ducks team. But I'm really upset about what they've allowed this San Diego Gulls team to become. And I don't think the Gulls are real happy with me, but it's your product on the ice, and I'm telling you why you are where you are. But that's where I feel, because this franchise was really good when it first got here. That's my spin. John, you got a slap shot you want to take on the blue line?
What's the Four Nations break?
Four Nations is got to do with the All-Star break. They have four nations that are paired together. They're bringing it's kind of like a mini Olympics.
But aren't they clustering like the Scandinavian as a group and Europe as a group? That's
what the Four Nations tournament is.
Okay.
I don't think it's real sexy. I don't get excited about it. Again, I grew up as a hockey guy in the 70s when we had the Canada Cup. The Canada Cup with Darryl Sittler and all those great players against the USSR. And when we beat them, that's what international play was really special. The stuff that's jury rigged right now, Four Nations tournament, okay, something to watch, but at the end of the day, does it carry the value that Canada Cup did? No, not in my estimation. Play my schedule. Yeah, this is cool. Okay, fine. Can I play the second half of the schedule after the Four Nations Cup?
Well, I just think all-star games in general are just not as sexy as they used to be.
Yeah.
And they have to keep trying to reinvent it. And it just sucks that Caitlin Clark won't play in the NBA three-point shot. That would be good.
I agree with it from a marketing standpoint. That's must-see TV.
100%.
But she's of the opinion, hey, have Steph Curry come and play in the WNBA three-point shooting contest with Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
I'd probably watch that. But
Caitlin Clark's like, you know who I am? I sit in the skybox with Taylor Swift when I watch football.
All right,
games.
let's move on here.
Okay, let's go to social media because there's a bunch of guys that want to get involved in there. So let's go here and to here and down the list of social media. Okay, and these are Dodger fans piling in. This is from CSR. As someone that hates the Padres, this is getting better every day. I drink your tears, Padre fans.
Oh, just feel throw a beanball at that guy wearing SD on his jersey. I think what's really going to be interesting is the Dodgers have so many pitchers they can't keep them all. Only a few of them have options left. Now a bunch of guys are going to wind up to start the season on the disabled list. Some of them are still obviously recovering from surgery. We have to see if a Dustin May or Tony Gonsolin has any physical setbacks. But there are going to be some transactions. The Dodgers have to move some pitchers out of here because you can't have 23 pitchers. You know, somebody texted me and says, Lee, the league limit is you can have 13 pitchers now on the expanded roster. Why you guys keep saying they can have 14? Well, Ohtani counts as a DH, as an everyday player, even though he will be a part-time pitcher. So in essence, the Dodgers, and again, this is the rules. I'm not saying they avoided the rule, but because Ohtani is so unique, they're going to have 14 pitchers when the Padres or Cincinnati or the Orioles or whomever can only have 13, because Ohtani will be the 14th pitcher, but he's also your designated hitter. That's how they've gotten around that rule.
Dodgers. You know, it's just, we live in their world.
If I wore my Dodger hoodie again, do you think there'd be people have a heart attack on this podcast?
Yeah, I think, Padre fans would be pretty angry.
Just bring some Tylenol for the day I do that. Go ahead, let's move on.
Okay, moving on. Again, there's some more Padre talk here, and this is from Hector. He goes, Profar didn't have a career year in 2024. He had a career first 3 months of the season.
He had about 4 really good months, and then he drifted off. Then he bounced back. Then he kind of tailed off again. He is a career, I think it's 248 hitter. I'm sorry, as much as I liked him and he was a leader and he was a personality, I'll close my eyes and forever see him jumping up and down in left field after stealing that home run ball from Dodger fan. That'll be my flashback picture, my scrapbook of Jurickson Profar. But I'd never pay him $18 million a year. No, he's got now if he hit 280 again, a second year in a row, then maybe he deserves another significant pay bump. But I'm not going from 1.5 million where he was when I already offered him 8. I'm not going to 14 mil on a 3-year deal or 4-year deal. And that's what he got from Atlanta. So good guy. He did very well, but they just were not affordable, not in today's budgetary issues at Petco Park.
If you can get it, you're worth it. Okay. So he got the contract. That means he's worth that money. What was it? 42 mil over 3 years?
Yeah.
Something like that. So you love Profar. You know, there's funny, the Dodger fans still hate him for that whole jumping up and down thing, which I thought was great entertainment when that went on. But clearly it would have been a mistake for the Padres to bring him back at that price, even if they didn't have a civil war in the front office, because from a Padre perspective, it wouldn't have made sense financially, but for other teams, it would. And so I wish him the best in Atlanta and look forward to having him come back here to Petco.
You know, same thing with Hassan Kim. I mean, he did really well in spurts of a couple of years over this 4-year window. But Kim was going to make $8 million if he picked up the last year option coming off shoulder surgery. And instead, he goes to sign in Tampa Bay for what, $14 million per over the next 3 years. That's a lot of money for a guy who's coming off labrum surgery.
But that's the market. I mean, that's the crazy part about it, is that's what those guys are worth, And so to your point, Preller has made all those deals and he's got little wiggle room left, and there's no way you can pick up a Profar, even on a feel good thing.
Yeah. I mean, I like Kim. I think if I close my eyes, my snapshot of Kim are the fans chanting, "Let's go, Kim."
No, Hassan Kim.
Hassan Kim.
Yeah. They're saying his name. Yeah.
That was cool. And, Profar jumping up and down. That's a snapshot for all time.
And those two guys are buddies too, which is so cool. That's why another reason I like both of them on the team, just good vibes.
Okay, we move on.
Okay, this is another Padre comment. This is from Raphael. He goes, the ownership battle reminds me of the Major League, the movie. The team is going to end up being sold. Owners have to agree to accept the new order. No?
Well, the problem is we were taken to a certain level and we had high expectations, and Mr. Seidler passed. Things are different now. It becomes a big issue. This franchise was never going to be moved. That was stupid for that statement ever to be put out by Sheil Seidler, which has triggered such terrible reaction towards the front office. Might the franchise be sold? Yeah, it could be. I've had other baseball people intimate to me that they thought within 3 years the franchise would be sold because its value is $2.6 billion. Peter Seidler wanted to keep it in the family and let it run and run and run, but I think Peter did what Peter did because Peter knew this cancer probably was going to come back and his immune system was compromised. It's just a sad story because he was such a great person in terms of what he gave to the community, in addition to what he's done just at Petco Park along. So maybe to be sold again. I sure hope we don't go back to the Tom Werner terrible 15 era. But I hope not. We'll just have to see where this thing goes within 2 years' time. My gut feel, because of the Civil War, I bet within 2 years we're doing this podcast, this franchise will have been sold. Doesn't mean you can't go get great owners. There could be great people out there. Anybody got Steve Ballmer's phone number, LA Clippers?
That'd be the guy to call.
Anything's possible. So we'll see where it goes. But they got to solve this from a credibility and a transparency standpoint with the Seidler family. The Civil War is not good.
Now, I saw a piece on social media that was a clip from an article where the Seidler brothers were quoted, and they referred to the franchise as an O'Malley/Seidler asset. Did you see that?
I didn't see that, but it makes sense because that's where their baseball bloodlines came from, the O'Malley family. Seidler married into the O'Malley family.
But was it Peter Seidler, individual Peter Seidler, that made big money on his own that bought the team? Or was it the O'Malley family that all piled in and just made Peter the figurehead?
No, with Seidler Equity. All those Seidler brothers are part of Seidler Equity.
But Peter Seidler's in the number one of Seidler Equity.
Exactly. Was.
Yeah. And then just as an aside, this picture that we use sometimes of Sheil Seidler, you see that hat she's wearing? It's got like the SD logo. It's sort of backwards. Have you been seeing that lately?
No,
it's kind of a thing where I've noticed that you'll see people wear hats where the logo is upside down or it's mirrored, reversed, and it's become like a trendy thing. Like for not to mock a team, but just to have a cool alternative look.
The way I dress, you think I'm trendy? You think I care about that? I'm more into player personnel and moves and deals and trades and rumors, and I'm not very trendy. Thank you.
Okay, well let's keep going here. And this is from Mike. He goes, "Hey Hacksaw, keep John around, and both of you need Aztec gear. Go Aztecs, go John and Saw. Great show."
I've got Aztec gear. I'll have to pull it out of the back of the closet. I don't own anything that doesn't have a logo, as you guys witnessed by all the unique and different things I wear. I may send out a memo one day, and I'm going to make us, the co-host, wear a shirt and tie here one day. Now, I dress up on Saturdays. I do this big KUSI sports package at 6:30 on Saturday morning. Now, this guy, you own a tie? It's a bow tie, right? You show up wearing a bow tie on my podcast?
Well, I'll show up. I'll be Ernie Johnson. Okay. That'll be my thing, with the bow tie. Now, seriously, I haven't worn a tie probably in 7 or 8 years, and I have no plans to wear them in the future. Maybe when my children get married, I might wear a tie. But no, we're doing a podcast. This is not a suit and tie kind of thing.
Well, maybe you can make a one-time exception and wear that damn bow tie, and then we definitely will look like the odd couple then.
Yeah, we will.
Okay, next one.
Moving on. Okay, let's go back here to I was flipping back and forth between the fans forum comments and the social media stuff. Let's get another social media. More Padres comments. This is from Chris. How do they have record attendance last year and not able to afford more payroll? Time for new investors.
Well, the reality is debt, servicing the debt from all the money that they had to spend while AJ Preller was going on his spending sprees in the years prior before they got good. AJ's burned through an awful lot of money. Record attendance, yes, 3.3 million. Record revenue, yes, unbelievable. But they're trying to wipe out the debt that AJ incurred. Peter Seidler kept making cash calls of all the other fellow owners that during the course of the season, we need to raise more funds to pay our bills. And they violated baseball's debt limit at one point a year ago and had to take out a loan. So is volumes of money coming in? Yes. But they're trying to wipe out all the red ink from years prior. That's about 8 or 9 years of red ink. So they're trying to balance the books. That's the simple explanation I can give you.
I just wish there was a press conference and we get to see these guys, the Seidler brothers, and kind of hear from them and sort of explain what's going on. I think that's part of the problem. It's just been confusing.
I think this lawsuit's going to go away. It's going to go to arbitration. That's a baseball bylaw. When you have this type of ownership crisis, prime example, the Orioles and the Washington Nationals have been involved in a terrible war over Middle Atlantic Sports Network, MASN, which televises their games. And in terms of the value of the amount of money that the Orioles and Nationals are supposed to split as their revenue from MASN. And it finally wound up going to arbitration. The Orioles ownership was involved with the Angelos family, had a warring faction of family members about who's going to run the team, who's going to control the team. That wound up going to arbitration. That's part of the baseball infrastructure bylaw. This Seidler civil war is going to wind up in arbitration. We don't know what the decision will be. I don't even know when the hearing will be held, but there will be arbitration to determine what's right, what's not right as to what Shields Seidler said should happen, thought was going to happen, versus what the three other Seidler brothers are saying. This is what Peter laid out on our behalf, and it's all signed and sealed. So I think the lawsuit's going to disappear, but the damage is done because you lost Roki Sasaki. Damage is done because ownership has frozen the payroll, and now AJ is trying to work magic, having to move players out of here.
Isn't this amazing that this is the baseball offseason and we're talking so much about Padre Dodgers and nothing about the Super Bowl? I mean, usually
next week, podcast will be on the air Monday and Thursday. Next week,
okay,
a lot of Super Bowl.
Now, I want to go back to I want to talk Super Bowl for a minute. We're in a 2-week gap, right?
Window.
Mm-hmm. Now, didn't it used to be 1 week? And
on some years it did, but NFL wants to keep it front and center in the conversation.
But it's not front and center right
now.
Well,
not in the 619-760-858 area code.
Right.
And by the way, we don't have a bloody team. But I'll guarantee you in lots of other places, it is topic of conversation. But not in San Diego right now because of the baseball crisis. I'll guarantee you, though, we're going to be talking football next week.
Good. Yeah.
Damn right.
Because I remember the last Super Bowl, man, you broke it down. We went through the GMs, the offensive line. We went through the playmaking of Andy Reid. I mean, it was really in-depth analysis.
Monday and Thursday of next week, you will be here prepared to talk football.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. Hey, listen, we hope you've enjoyed the wide variety of topics we put on the table.